Have you ever felt as if you gave someone your trust and honesty only to be met with skepticism and confusion? How many times have you quietly questioned if the person in front of you genuinely cared or was just performing a role? You may have a deep-seated dread of being used. That beautiful words and pleasant actions are only a front for hidden intentions. Deception, even in relationships, causes more than simply emotional pain. It gradually undermines our faith in myself and others. Perhaps you are resistant to the concept that someone close to you exists just for selfish advantage. However, tiny gestures, disingenuous remarks, and half-truths gradually disclose reality. How can we avoid from drowning in mistrust and losing our inner peace? When do we recognize someone's lack of sincerity? God, with its calm, profound, and understanding principles, may help us see the indications of deception and deal with them calmly. Stoics believe that preserving clarity and inner tranquility is the key to navigating relationships riddled with ulterior motivations. In this video, we'll look at 7 telltale signals that someone is acting completely false with you. These skills extend beyond only identifying people. They take us on a trip to realize that the power of a robust mind and a steady spirit is our best protection against negativity. Let's look at each symptom to uncover the Stoic method to overcoming deceit with calm resilience. Before we begin, I have a tiny challenge for you. Watch till the end to discover how many of these indications you've noticed in your own relationships. Now let us get started. Sign 1. They never reach out to you first. A phony friend is someone who only appears when you contact them or when they require something from you. This might leave you feeling frustrated, as if you are the only one keeping the relationship going. As a Stoic, I would not advocate severing relationships with such people. Rather, I advise you to have a deeper understanding of human nature and learn to let go of your expectations of others. When someone never initiates contact, it indicates that they see you as a secondary link, a source of advantage when necessary, or a lack of actual commitment. Consider a buddy who only calls when they need help or are down. Does that feel like a real, long-lasting relationship? Probably not, because a genuine relationship is one in which both parties freely give and receive without one needing to sustain it. If I stop reaching out, would this individual make an attempt to keep in touch? Take a break from making contact and see what happens. If they genuinely care, they will notice your absence and make an attempt to connect. If they don't, you might have found your solution. Their lack of initiative also implies that you may be beyond their immediate circle. This is evident when you are excluded from parties to which you were not invited, or when you just learn about them through social media or other means. These events occur without your presence, as if you were naturally excluded from the moments a genuine buddy would share. These indications indicate more than simply a lack of effort. They also represent a deeper lack of concern. If you're constantly the one reaching out while they make no attempt to connect, they've probably curtailed your position in their lives. You may have committed time and energy in this connection, but the fact is that they do not respect your presence. This does more than simply make you feel abandoned. It also makes you question your worth in their eyes. Consider a buddy with whom you have always felt connected. You often text, check in, and ask them out for coffee or a movie. However, when you become busy and stop initiating, they just go. No messages, calls, or check-ins. It's unavoidable to feel disappointed at that point. However, a Stoic would see this as a great lesson, not a wound. Epictetus once remarked that what occurs to you is less important than how you react to it. The absence may be what occurs to you, but how you respond is what matters. You may choose to feel betrayed and disappointed, or you can accept the fact that they do not actually care. Instead of expecting something from them, work on regulating your own emotions and gradually learning to let go. Expectations are frequently the foundation of disappointment in every relationship, according to what God teaches. If we put too much faith in people acting in the way we wish, they will easily be injured if they do not learn to examine each interaction realistically. Maintain a proactive approach to your responses. In reality, you tolerate another person's lack of action without allowing it to impact you. You are creating inner serenity, a tranquility that does not rely on external affirmation. You could wonder whether they don't really value me. Am I willing to let go? When you can confidently answer that question, you will feel more free than ever. Those who do not reach out may just have a different style of expressing their emotions, or may not truly appreciate the friendship. However, as a Stoic, you are not required to judge or respond adversely. Instead, attempt to understand and embrace. Focus on developing inner strength and cultivating more genuine relationships. Finally, remember that in every relationship, the most essential factor is not whether others make an effort for you, but if you are strong enough not to rely on their attention. That is the Stoic style of living, with calm and resilient strength. They're never available when you need them. A real buddy will support you. When life gets rough, don't hesitate to shoulder your weight. A fake friend, on the other hand, frequently appears just when it is advantageous to them. They may appear loving and close, fooling you into believing you are significant to them. However, when you genuinely confront difficulty and want assistance, they leave without a trace, leaving you to face obstacles alone. Have you ever pondered why, whenever you need assistance, they always seem to find an excuse to be absent? It's because for them, the connection just exists as long as they gain from it. When you're weak or going through a difficult time, such pals believe you no longer have worth for them. They come around when they need something, but once they have it, they quickly find the exit. It is a one-sided relationship. If you go back and ask yourself if they were ever present when you felt lost or hurt, the answer is probably no. Imagine you're going through a difficult period at work, feeling the weight of high expectations and tiredness, and you contact someone you used to consider a close friend, someone you'd be there for any time they needed it. However, when you contact them, they do not answer or make excuses about being busy, promising to get back to you later. You wait, but they never do. That's when you realize this connection is only valuable when you're the giver, and they only show up when there's something in it for themselves. Sometimes you need temporary financial assistance, such as a short loan from someone who pledged to aid. You've previously helped someone, whether with money or useful advice, to get through difficult circumstances. However, when you contact out, you only get discouraging excuses like they can't afford it or dealing with personal issues. But, they're not under any actual constraint and may continue to indulge in their own desires. You can tell that the generosity you extended was not reciprocated, and this connection is purely one way. In many circumstances, these fair-weather buddies provide persuasive justifications for their absence. They'll say they're too busy dealing with personal concerns or important affairs. However, these explanations are frequently used to hide their selfishness and lack of sincerity. A good friend does not tell lies to avoid you at difficult times. They are willing to come up and listen even when they are suffering. Sometimes we need to question ourselves. Does this friendship have value and meaning, or is it just a temporary arrangement for convenience? A true friend will come up even if there is nothing in it for them. They will listen with an open heart, expecting nothing in return. In contrast, a dishonest buddy will constantly take without giving. Have you ever felt that after you've given your all to aid someone, they simply leave when you need them? If you've gone through this, feel free to share your experience. Sometimes putting it into words might help us break away from expectations that have previously damaged us. These buddies' relationships are based on calculation rather than affection. They come to take, not to give, Once we grasp this, we learn not to feel wounded when they go. This realization does not harden our hearts. Instead, it provides us peace, protecting us from unneeded suffering. God warns us not to put our faith in things beyond of our control, such as the sincerity of others. A good buddy will not abandon you when you're in need. God instructs us to be self-sufficient, never relying on the presence of others. Be cautious and choosy about who you allow into your life. In the end, a real relationship will last because it is founded on pure, passionate love rather than gain or circumstance. Sign 3. They only focus on themselves after noticing that someone is frequently missing when you want assistance. The second typical indicator of a shallow relationship is a lack of balance in communication. A real person will take the time to listen and contribute, whereas those who are fake frequently use conversations to brag about themselves. Have you ever found yourself in a conversation when everything appeared to revolve around the other person? They constantly relate anecdotes about their life, interrupt you, or exhibit disinterest in what you say, transforming you into a reluctant listener in an endless monologue. This obviously suggests that their attention is one-sided and narrow, focusing just on themselves and what they deem essential. Why are they so focused on speaking instead of listening? For many fake people, a discussion is not an opportunity to connect. Instead, it acts as a platform for their ego. They brag about their jobs, personal lives, accomplishments, or failures. If you attempt to contribute anything, they may immediately interrupt or look uninterested. Their purpose is to be heard, but they have no intention of actually listening to others. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "Don't waste any more time talking over what a decent man is. Become one." Insincere individuals sometimes spend more time bragging than trying to be truly wonderful. Consider a common situation. You have a coworker who, every time you meet, starts talking about everything from their current project to their previous trip. When you try to offer anything about yourself, they quickly shift the focus back to them. This action demonstrates not just selfishness, but also a lack of genuineness in the relationship. The core of such fake people is that they seek acknowledgement from others in order to dominate their attention. If someone truly cares about you, they will listen and reply honestly. However, icier people do not behave in this manner. They interrupt you not out of interest or inquiry, but because they feel their viewpoint is more essential. They are too impatient to wait for you to complete speaking. They're rushing to add their own ideas. This not only makes the discourse uncomfortable, but it also adds a sense of remoteness. Another practical example is when you describe a challenging scenario, such as being under pressure at work. Instead of empathizing and listening, that person swiftly changes to explaining the pressures they are feeling. They constantly compare your difficulties to their own, rehashing the same scenario. At that point, you understand that this individual is not a true friend. They do not intend to share your load. They just want to add to their own. Insincere people not only refuse to listen, but also disregard your feelings and opinions. They are insensitive to other people's feelings and rarely provide real encouragement when you express something meaningful or delicate. They usually answer in a superficial manner or try to downplay what you've stated. It's not because they don't comprehend. It is because they do not want to. Have you ever discussed an unpleasant or difficult life issue with a friend, only to have them disregard it? Come on, it's not a huge problem. Or simply disregard it totally. Such attitudes demonstrate an indifference to the difficulties you confront. A good friend would never treat you like a burden. They would take the time to listen. Even if they do not provide guidance, they will make you feel validated and valued. When you meet someone who solely talks about themselves without expressing disappointment or anger, remind yourself that their behavior demonstrates immaturity. You do not have to respond to insincerity with bad feelings. Instead, keep a safe distance and recognize that they will not add value to your life. Once you understand that someone is solely interested in talking rather than listening, use God as your response. First, realize that you have the ability to pick which relationships are worth your time. You are not compelled to put up with someone else's selfishness instead of engaging in this one-sided conversation. Concentrate on those who actually care about you. Keeping your distance does not imply that you have animosity towards them. Rather, you are guarding your spirit from unneeded negativity. Sign 4. They forget what you said. Have you ever discussed an unpleasant or difficult life issue with a friend? Sharing a meaningful narrative or genuine feeling with someone only to discover later that they remember none of it. Perhaps you discussed a noteworthy life experience or a key personal plan. However, it appeared to them that your words had just faded away. This type of forgetting isn't a little error. It frequently indicates that the person does not actually care about the topic or you. If you've ever had to repeat a narrative or highlight points you already conveyed, you'll realize how discouraging it may be. For someone who actually listens, remembering is not a job. It's a natural deed out of real concern. I remember telling a buddy how excited I was to start a long-awaited course. This wasn't just any course. I had spent a significant amount of time preparing for this new phase. I was prepared to embrace. We sat over coffee, and I gladly expressed my hopes, what I wanted to learn, and the goals I hoped to attain. It was the type of honest, emotional chat you hope will strengthen a bond. However, the next time we met, he did not bring it up. Even when I hinted at it, he stared at me blankly, as if he'd never heard of it before. In that moment, it occurred to me that if he actually cared, I might not have played a huge role in his life. I imagine he may have asked, "How's your course going?" Or, "What have you learned thus far?" However, there was none of it. Reflecting on it, I recognized that his forgetfulness was more than simply a slip. When people care, they remember, because listening is more than just hearing with the ears. It also involves hearing with the heart. As Seneca once said, if you want to be loved, love a sincere friend, not out of obligation, but because they genuinely care about you. Following that incident, I started to reconsider my relationships. I have another buddy who, every time we meet, inquires about even the slightest things I've previously mentioned, such as a new restaurant I wanted to try or a brief vacation plan with family. Those simple things may appear little to others, but to me they indicate that she is actually present and listening, not just in words, but also in acts. She remembers. I feel respected and cherished by God because of that. Genuine and enduring relationships must be founded on genuine interest and listening. I began to question if it was worthwhile to maintain partnerships in which the other person did not actually listen. Can I tolerate a friendship that isn't authentic? The answer became clearer when I realized I didn't need to maintain folks who didn't appreciate me. Learning to let go also brings a sense of calm, to set aside my time and energy for people who truly care. Since then, I've learned to value people who are there when I need them, who remembers every anecdote and detail I've told. These relationships may be limited, but they are rewarding and invaluable. They're the ones who inquire, "How was your trip?" They genuinely care about the answer because they want to know. These are the people I value because they not only listen but also stay in my life through both good and bad times. So I remind myself that life is only whole and meaningful when we are surrounded by people who understand and appreciate us. Sign 5. They constantly expect something from you. When we meet someone who can't recall the specifics of a conversation, it usually indicates disinterest and a lack of true interest. This depicts a relationship that lacks the necessary connection and authenticity. However, apathy is not necessarily the end of it. Some individuals approach us not just with a superficial attitude, but also with obvious, self-serving motivations. When someone contacts you just for personal benefit, you should exercise caution. These unique words emerge in your life, giving the impression that they care. But if you look closely, you'll notice that their acts are largely for their personal benefit. They may inquire about you, participate in serious talks, or even support you during difficult times. However, upon closer inspection, their assistance or concern is frequently motivated by a desire to acquire something from you rather than out of goodwill. They are always asking inquiries and probing your life. They seek knowledge about you not to share or understand, but to identify your shortcomings, needs, or assets. For example, a buddy may constantly question you about your financial position or employment, yet provide little assistance when you are hurting. They are not asking out of concern, but to see what advantage you may provide to them. If you encounter someone who constantly asks, "How is work going lately?" or "How did the investment you described pan out?" consider whether these inquiries are truly motivated by concern. They want knowledge, so they may use you when it suits them, rather than contributing to the relationship. In today's society, when many people want to take rather than give, toxic relationships may quickly arise, and such people will do whatever in their power to grab what you have. They may appear to be friends, or even use your sensitive times in order to sustain a connection that ultimately suits their own interests. It's critical to review your connections. Ask yourself, where do I spend the majority of my time, energy, and resources? If the response indicates that you are always the giver, eager to sacrifice without obtaining anything meaningful in return, this is a strong indication of a manipulative relationship. In truth, some people are willing to drain your energy as well as your kindness without hesitation. God teaches us how to distinguish individuals in our life clearly. Ask yourself, why are they with me? Stoics usually emphasize attention, stating that there are only two sorts of people: those who take more than they offer and those who seek to give more than they get. Consider having a buddy who regularly asks for assistance with problems ranging from little things, such as seeking advice or wanting someone to chat with, to major ones, such as borrowing money or requiring you to address personal challenges. Initially, you may feel appreciated as a friend, only to discover that this connection is one-sided when you want assistance or want to discuss something, and they are suddenly busy or show little interest. When you were struggling at work and needed someone to listen, they quickly produced an excuse and couldn't make time for you. Gradually, you realize that people only come when they need something, and your presence is only important if it serves them. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the need of understanding the motivations of people, and God helps you remain composed in such circumstances. Ensure that these connections do not leave you feeling bitter or disillusioned. If you are continuously surrounded by people who want to take more than they offer, you should remove yourself from them. This does not imply ending all relationships, but rather learning to identify when a relationship is no longer healthy. The presence of people who merely want something from you will not help your personal development. Sign 6. They gossip behind your back in life. One of the most difficult situations is discovering that someone you trust or respect is speaking negatively about you behind your back. Recognizing and confronting this betrayal demands clarity and a sturdy heart, a peaceful mind that prevents such treachery from upsetting one's inner serenity for those who live by God. Though explicit proof is not always accessible, you can usually tell when someone is chatting behind your back by the tension that occurs when you are near them. It's like an invisible, extremely delicate thread. You may not know exactly what they said or to whom, but their actions provide clues. They could appear odd, use passive-aggressive gestures, such as a false grin, or gently discount your remarks. Even if you don't hear the exact words, you'll sense a barrier building, creating a palpable bad vibe. Consider a close coworker whose attitude has evolved. They continue to exchange polite grins, but their look lacks sincerity, and their stories increasingly focus on themselves, ignoring yours with disinterest. Perhaps someone said something negative about you somewhere in the office, and their mood reflects that. Frequently, What people say about you reaches you indirectly, through a common friend, a close coworker, or even a casual remark from an acquaintance. While it might be depressing, it also provides a chance to discover the genuine nature of the connection. Pay attention, and you'll find that gossipers frequently engage in passive-aggressive conduct, gradually undermining your successes. When you share an achievement, they may dismiss it or make remarks that undermine your confidence. Like, "Oh, that's not such a big deal, is it?" These persons may use language to distract and undermine. God presents a perspective that seeks to undermine your confidence in these trying circumstances. Remember that it is not he who abuses, blows, or affronts. However, we find these things disrespectful. Allowing such nasty statements to impact you empowers others to influence your emotions. Allow these remarks to pass without worry. When confronted with slander, it is easy to fall into a negative cycle of reaction. But God emphasizes how crucial it is to maintain emotional and behavioral stability. Ask yourself if this is genuinely important. Are these remarks affecting who I am? With confidence in your own worth, you'll realize that these negative comments are only background noise in your life. Those that gossip about you are frequently driven by jealousy or anger, and their own insecurities drive them to be negative. Rather than being swept up in their envy, concentrate on your own improvement, refusing to allow rumor to consume your thoughts. God does not instruct us to cut off all relationships simply because someone talked negatively of us. Instead, it promotes self-focus, maintaining self-respect, and not allowing others to disrupt our inner serenity. Remember that anything somebody says behind your back does not change your worth. You exemplify the actual Spirit of God if you remain calm, stable, and self-respecting. A spirit that seeks inner peace and transcends life's trivialities. Sign 7. They behave differently toward various people. After looking at the apparent indications of dishonesty, such as backstabbing, we come to one of the more subtle, yet telling markers of insincerity. Changing behavior. God urges us to act honestly and consistently in accordance with our basic beliefs, depending on who we are with. Those who change their attitudes to please various individuals are directly contrary to this mentality. Maintaining connections with people who are continuously changing their behavior due to circumstances is difficult for them. Hiding one's actual character is nearly instinctual. They seamlessly transform into someone else, changing their words, emotions, or attitudes to blend in with others. This might be shown in subtle gestures, like as complimenting you in private, but ignoring you when someone more powerful is there. They may flatter people they admire or fear, while discreetly undermining you or others. They consider it inferior. A shallow person usually has little care for anybody but themselves. They will effortlessly present multiple sides to accomplish what they want from each individual without considering the long-term effects. If you send someone, they always change their behavior around others. Ask yourself, do they truly value you? Or are they just establishing a link for selfish gain? Someone who changes their attitude, depending on their audience, lacks the fortitude to live truly. Disregard genuine pity and at times appear to lack any strong underlying values. Consider a coworker who is warm and cordial when you are alone, but becomes overconfident, even forceful, when you are with a supervisor or high-level management. Going so far as to undermine you in order to seem better in these instances may cause you to be disillusioned and lose faith in them. However, instead of allowing negative emotions to take control, God encourages us to be calm and endeavor to comprehend human nature. It is our reaction to the situation, not the situation itself. This eventually defines our experience. Have you ever seen someone act differently when prominent individuals are present? They may appear indifferent to you in normal situations, but when they encounter someone famous or affluent, they become immediately eager and pleasant. This conduct indicates insincerity, since it values people solely for the rewards or status they may provide. These people frequently like to associate with powerful or wealthy individuals, feeling that they will benefit from their presence. This might include obtaining access to a network, broadening their professional options, or just boosting their standing. They frequently attend gatherings where they know influential individuals will be present, hoping to impress and attract attention while altering their conduct to fit the situation. This control is based on Marcus Aurelius' teachings, which highlight the value of living genuinely and in line with one's nature. Consider a real-life scenario in which you have a decent career, a consistent salary, and social status. Friends and partners appear readily available, willing to assist and join you. But one day, you lose your job or suffer a major setback, and these same individuals are no longer at your side. They grow busier, less attentive, and may even ignore you completely. This is one of the most obvious symptoms of a false buddy. A shallow individual would swiftly desert you once you lose the advantages you formerly enjoyed. This shows their natural vanity and self-interest. When they no longer regard you as valuable, they go without hesitation, looking for new stepping stones on their upward trip. In the face of such connections, contemplate what would happen if I lost all of my power, position, and achievements. Who would still support me? Think of your pals. Would they stay if you had nothing more to offer? Or will they stray away in search of new ties that will provide them with greater advantages? These are the questions I want you to consider as we conclude today's video. When you notice indicators of insincerity in a relationship, it's natural to be dissatisfied, even upset. God teaches us, however, that life is not always sweet. Instead, it gives us the opportunity to see clearly in progress. Recognizing who isn't real doesn't imply you should be distrustful of everyone. Rather, it allows you to be selective, cultivating connections that are truly worth your generosity and affection. God instructs us to keep our spirits stable, peaceful, and unmoved by the genuineness of ensigns rather than depending on outward illusions or misery. Only by controlling our own emotions can we keep false individuals from accessing our core. A core founded on strength and self-esteem. If this video was useful to you, please leave a comment and share with others you care about so that they too may protect themselves against insincerity. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get more profound insights from God that will help you live with greater power and peace. If you're still here, it means you completed the brief challenge at the start of the video. Leave a comment stating I've discovered a false buddy, so I may congratulate you on your remark. Capable realization. I appreciate your time and hope to see you in future videos.